How are
Oh,
you today?
pleased to see you representing our friends.
Voice is all okay, right? You can hear me well? Dr. Ali, can you hear me well? Is the voice okay?
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Just want to make sure that I think we are ready to start, right?
Inshallah, it is just right, even 1 minute late.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali kulli wa sahbi kulli ajma'in. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Welcome to another session, and inshallah we are going to continue our journey on the Quranic wisdom. And if you recall that this is a long journey. We started with Ramadan and continue after the Ramadan. And the subjects that we are discussing in last 2 weeks is one aspect of Quran as Quran being the book of wisdom. So in the sense that we emphasize the ayah that how the Quran inviting us to reflect on creation. And we mentioned this ayah and how the Prophet, peace be upon him, will recite that ayah and reflect and cry as he reflecting on creation. But we see if that is the case, that those who study creation, like scientists, so they are supposed to see the sign and connect to the creator. And that's not the case, particularly in the 21st century. So, and that is what we are discussing. Last week we began on the subjects, and I will look at some philosophical arguments, some argument from scientists, in which that they essentially do everything to limit us to the material reality, and even linguistically telling us that no, you can't really think to ask to find the answer to big question. Don't even ask it, because if there's no answer to those questions from their perspective, no point to even ask for question. And our point is that, first of all, we as a human, we can't help ourselves but asking question. And if we're asking question, there must be a way to explore for question. And particularly if we are encouraging people to think, we are not supposed to bring all kind of arguments to make them to stop thinking. And we find out, particularly, some argument they brought it saying that no, even the very language that you have is not allowing you to really to go beyond the material reality and explore the answer to such big question. Now, what we this week going to continue on this and highlight some of more argument like this. But the key part here that we want to really reflect together is that we exist, and we look around, there are many other things exist with us. As we reflect on the existence, we ask questions, how they came to exist, how they exist now. Now, again, let's say, look at my hand, it exists, and I say how my hand is actually exists as it is. Then I see, oh, it is connected to the body and the brain, and that's connected to the earth, to the food. But then I try to see what is really sustaining my existence. What is the source of my existence? What is sustaining my existence? And that is the questions that we think the Quran is inviting us to think about it. And then we're going to, inshallah, reflect on this question through creation to see whether we can actually see the hand of the creator in the dynamic act of creation, reach to the level as we observe his sign that we deliberately submit to him. And that's what's in a way that we think Islam is all about, is seeing the sign and submitting to him with conviction. So let's start, inshallah. Dr. Ali. I think
Sure.
that's what's like my understanding,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, what we got it last week.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam.
I really like the questions that our friends put forward last week, and our team brought it to my attention and said, I have to study these questions, because I was extremely pleased to see that our friends are seriously following the discussions, our talk, and really very much engaged. So we love consciously put forward questions. My intention is to deal with the questions just to start today's discussion. First of all, I understand from the questions that we have to make our mind clear. First, I took some notes. Then, Quran asks us to reflect on the creation. Now, the universe. In fact, the Quran uses both languages. Look at the sky and the earth, and anything on the earth or in the skies, stars, and also any objects of the example objects of the earth we can see here. Anything from mountain to any bird or ant or anything that we have to reflect. But we have to know that in order to reflect, we have to know, we have to reflect about what? So we know that the understanding of the universe is dramatically changing and very quickly changing from the, of course, not it wasn't the subject among the Muslims, but in the world, people thought that the universe was, the earth was just a flat being. That's it. And there are some few stars up there. That was their world. And until the 14th, 13th, 15th century, apart from Muslim world, the rest of the world thought in this way. From the very beginning, Muslim world was sure that the universe, the earth is round and it's not flat. Anyways, so nowadays, the universe is, if you like, I will put it in a very simple language. The matter is melting in the eyes of the scientists. They cannot really talk about, definitely they cannot really talk about anything with self-existing matter. You know the stories from Newtonian world to relative world to quantum world. Quarks are everywhere. No time and space. Incredible theories and thoughts are experiments and mathematical equations are demonstrating that you cannot claim that matter is really self-existing, substantial thing. Now, fluctuations, there are lots of theories. So we have to know, in order to reflect on the universe, what the reality of the universe is, so that I have to reflect and extract my own conclusion about the source of existence. While we are doing this, our aim is, it is so strange, Dr. Nejati, our aim is to understand what the source of existence is. What are we doing? We are reflecting on the existence. That is why, yes, majority of the believers, Muslim believers, Christians, Jews, whoever believes in the Creator, Hindus, for example, the majority of them, since they say there must be a creator, they start thinking about the creator and trying to define the creator. But we understand from the methodology of the Quran that we cannot really try to understand God in its essence, try to define God in its essence, but Quran says, think about the reflection. Creation. Reflect on the creation. It means look at the created beings. The Quran is inviting us. Look at the beings. You will conclude that there must be a creator. Now, this is how the human logic works. When you look at an event, you definitely say, what is the cause of it? How come it happened here? Now, even you see a simple house there, not a simple house, a tent. Definitely every human being asks, who made it? And this who made it, we have to be careful, is a language which is transcendental. The answer to this question goes to anything which beyond means not limited with the tent, with the house. Let's make it more realistic in our life. Not many people are living in tent except those deprived people. Anyway, this is a political matter. But look at a house. When I look at a house, definitely I ask my question, who made it? How come it exists? So this question necessitates something transcendental. What does it mean? Not exactly same nature of the house. There must be a conscious actor that made this house. This is called, in Islamic tradition, a selbiya approach, which means negating. Negating what? When I look at a house, even not a house, in a piece of peace in the house. When I look at, for example, window of a house, definitely I say the window cannot exist itself here. There must be a conscious being who measured, adjusted, and put it there. So simple, isn't it? But materialist people are blocking this way by arrogantly, totally illogically blocking this way, saying that you cannot ask any question which takes you to a transcendental being, labeling it, this is a mystical subject. Why? Because I cannot experience the builder, the architect of this house within this house. That is the trick. That is why Quran starts with it is fundamental principle with negating La ilaha and then confirming therefore illallah. Now, that is Quranic methodology we should never forget. We cannot think about the nature of essence of God, but we have to think about the nature, essence of the universe, anything existing. This is the main trick of the later generation scientists who are the philosophers of our age. They are struggling so much in order to escape from this reality. That is why we studied Wittgenstein, because he is the master of this theory. You cannot ask the question which takes you out of the house. The house example, for example, if you are, who put the door here? What happened now? My mind goes out of the house, because elements of the house cannot make the door, which says no, it is illegitimate. It is they think that the people are stupid, in fact. They will swallow their theory. It is mystical. It is mystical. This question is mystical because it is not realistic. We have to explain the position of the door in the house within the door itself. We cannot go out of the house. House represents what? Universe.
Universe.
Now, you see that Selby method takes us to a conclusion. The door must be put, or the window, whatever, simple things. Even the simple thing, I'm not asking how life occurred in creation. No, very simple. The door of a house, how it happened to be here. I have to definitely say that whoever made the house must be the maker of the door, planner, architect. Whoever made this building, architect, knowledge site, or the labor site who made it, creation and planning within wisdom perfectly, must be someone not in the nature of the house, because house cannot make itself. That is human, logically consistent conclusion. House cannot make itself. And so the maker must be not the nature of the house. That is the principle that we learn from the Qur'an. First we start, house cannot make itself. La ilaha. House is not the maker of itself. Therefore, there must be a maker not of the nature of the house. This is the principle. We have to write it. We have to memorize it. We have to remember all the time. Whatever we
Dr. Ali, I think that's what you mentioned, as you said, it is extremely important point, because that's the main trick of modern times.
Yeah.
So but that's really not only in philosophy. The entire educational system designed in a way make you to just study the component of house and ask question about the part without asking any question about the maker of house. So is it in a way, this is really not just philosophy that when you study philosophy you face. And I think anyone who go through the modern education and study the universe, they are brainwashed through such false way of thinking or restricting the mind to see the sign. So, and I want to give another example to make it very clear. I think the house example is a very good example. The computer example you mentioned last week, it's really another good example. And I want to mention the paint example as well. And I think those, you can think all those three examples to really see how they tricking us not to see the sign. So you're seeing a beautiful painting and you're amazed with this beautiful painting. And you just ask question, how this painting came into existence? Now they tell you, no, 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 never think there's an artist. Let's try to see how the painting came into existence through brush, through the paint, through the canvas. And then how we can explain through those causes through their interaction, but never ever think that there will be an artist which is different than this paint and is an outside the paint. So I think that is a complete nonsense, because when you look at the paint, you see there is an art, there is a beauty, and a brush cannot really come up with such art. The brush doesn't have such mind to come up with that. What you see in a beautiful painting clearly speaks that I'm the manifestation, I'm the reflection of an amazing artist out there, an artist with his or her art skill, basically paints me in this way that you can see and you can enjoy that. So I think what you mentioned, that La ilaha is essentially saying that when you see such amazing painting, first of all, you need to do negation by saying the brush cannot do that, the canvas cannot do that, the paint cannot do that, because the quality manifested in the paint cannot be traced back to those mindless objects. They themselves need explanation. So that's the La ilaha. So once you do negation, then you say, okay, who could do that? When you say illallah, you say there must be a maker who is not a kind of paint, kind of canvas, and who has a distinctive property different than what you see on a paint, can actually be the source of pain. Now, obviously, this analogy, paint analogy, is for the universe. So essentially, it means that as we study the universe, as we study physics, chemistry, biology, if we stuck and just studying in terms of how those components come together and take a certain form and become water, an apple, orange, then we're going to miss the whole picture. So we're supposed to ask questions and understand that the question cannot be answered by those material cause or laws or so-called nature, and that's the negation. And then we say, oh, who could be the source of this? Who could be the one make that? So, because I think the Quran really beautifully asks the question. The Quran never says what is the source. He always says who is the source. The reason is because what you see requires intelligence, requires knowledge, requires some things, therefore cannot really be with the non-living, non-conscious being. Therefore, the Quran doesn't ask what question, ask really who is the source. Because when you see the building, you see there must be mind behind it. So that is, I think, is the illallah part, and that's the Quranic way of looking at the creation and understand that the causes, laws, and nature are not the source, and conclude that the creator must be behind it, and who is an absolute and who is different than this creation. That's my understanding.
I'm very slow in just a minute. Let me complete this.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I think so this is very, so one point maybe I can highlight as you're typing that is, as we discuss this, I want to really bring to your attention, we're not talking about God as the first cause in a way that, as we see in a lot of Kalami discussion and philosophical discussion, we're talking God as the only cause, as the cause that right now is really causing what we see. And in a way, we say, if we use again analogy of painting, we say this painting is a dynamic. That's what Dr. Ali was mentioning. Science reveals that The painting is happening all the time. New painting, we see that every moment. Now, then you have to ask, who is the one painting now? It's not like we find a painting that from billion years ago and we say, who must be the artist behind that? We now find out through the scientific study that we have very dynamic universe in which the universe is being created from moment to moment. And again, using this analogy of painting, we see the scenery, the painting is being done every moment for every person. Then now you have to ask, who is the one? Who is the artist now painting this for me as I observe that? So that is, I think, is really essential that we, in a way, understand the dynamic essence of the creation and see the creation is something continuous, constant, and is happening right now, here. The creator is the one that, as let's say, by holding my pen here, if I use this Quranic perspective, I shall see is actually it is his power right now. Keep this pen in existence, and his power now work through my arm and through many other things, keep this pen as is. And if you leave it alone for a second, there is no pen here. It's going to go into non-existence. So I think that is, in a way, that is the understanding of the creator as Al-Qayyum, Al-Khallaq, Al-Qadir, Al-Alim, with all those amazing names that Quran bring to our attention and want us to really have the proper understanding.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I got this one while you are illustrating everything perfectly. So I think we have to understand this nowadays. To say that God created me is not satisfactory. No, not satisfactory. Okay, if you think that God created me, now the people are coming up with the counter argument saying that, okay, you call God something mysterious, I call nature. Nature created me. And they say, okay, if you believe something mysterious, go and believe in it, but I'm realistic, I am a scientist, I believe in nature, nature created me. This language is not valid anymore. We should never teach our children like this, or we should never teach belief in God or belief in anything ghaibi in this way. But we have to go to this. I cannot exist by myself. La ilaha. Therefore, my creator, I have a creator, I must have a creator, and my creator must be an absolutely conscious being. Why? Because I am within the context of the whole universe, and whole universe is like me. They cannot exist by themselves. Then who is this conscious being, absolute conscious being, is called God. So this is the creator of the universe. As the Quran says, Allahu Rabbul Alamin. Quran defines God, Allahu Rabbul Alamin. Whoever created the whole universe is what we mean by Allah. This is how the Quran teaches us. Qul huwa Allahu. It is, say, it is the one who made you. Who is that? Allah. Who is Allah? Ahad. Absolute. Samad. Allahu Samad. And another emphasis, Allah is Samad. Doesn't need anything, creates everything from nothing. Absolutely. From just wills it, it happens. And even further explains what does Samadiyya means, that creates everything and doesn't. Now, if you understand, lem yelid ve lem yulad, he doesn't give birth, it means doesn't transfer his qualities, his absolute qualities to anything of this universe. Lem yelid. It means nothing has any absolute qualities, even limited qualities. Now, they have no quality at all of quality which can bring anything into existence. Walem yulad. If the universe totally needs a creator, and this creator should not be like the universe, created being. So we cannot say that he is, they call it begotten. It means given birth by something else. I hear, and I'm very surprised. Those philosophers are so clever people, thinking deep, but mind is blocked within the universe. They say, if everything, look at the question, Dr. Najati, if everything needs a cause, so universe needs a cause, yeah, okay, let's say universe needs a cause, agree. And who is the cause? God. Who caused God? Stupid. Why? I'm sorry. This everything means of this universe. Everything you are thinking. Still, these genius people still think of God in terms of the universe. Who caused God? What does it mean? The great philosophers. When you read them, I mean, you can read, or I don't want to name the Kierkegaard and Sartre and Nietzsche, Schopenhauer. Go and read them. They are so simple-minded people. Why? But they are smart. Why simple-minded? They block their mind capacity. So the Quran emphasizes, well, lam yulad, because anything which is made needs to be made. When we must have a maker, the universe needs to be made. And it is the maker of the universe cannot be like the universe. Of course, when we use the analogy, we have to be careful. Who made the house? An architect, a builder. And who made the builder? But this is an analogy. In analogy, we understand only the logic. That is, the house needs to be made. It must have a maker. Period. That is the analogy finished now. The universe itself needs to be brought into existence, created. So there must be a creator, not of the nature of the universe. Like the house, or in your example, the piece of art needs to be made. And the artist cannot be like any part of the painting. Cannot be, because painting needs to be made. So we have to go, who made the painting? Who made the house? Now, this understanding is beautifully described in the Quran. I love La ilaha illallah methodologically. La ilaha illallah. And again, I love Lem Yelid ve Lem Yulad. This is the second. But we cannot say Christians said Jesus is God. This is what the Quran says. Don't reduce God to a piece of this universe. In fact, of course, the Christians literally deny this. We don't say Allah gave birth to Jesus. Of course, they don't say this. No, I've never seen any Christian theology says God gave birth to Jesus. This symbolizes it. There are many, in other aspects of it, there are many interpretations, but the purpose of the Quran is to teach us, God cannot be represented within the conditions of this universe. That is what the point is. Now, I think this introduction is too long. I have to go to back.
Dr. Ali, can I add one thing to that before you move, really? This remind me the other eye. I really, one of my favorite ayah says, أَفَمَنْ يَخْلُقُ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقُ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ? Can the one who creates be the same like the one who cannot create? Don't you have mind? Don't you know from your own experience? I see tazakkarun there. It's like, don't you remember from your own experience? There must be the difference between the two. Khaliq and makhluk cannot be the same. And I think when you say lam yalid wa lam yulad, I see there's one point I want to really emphasize. This is very, very unique interpretation to say this is not really, don't reduce this to the story of, Christianity and Jesus. And I think what I see, if you ask today, many Muslims, you say, do we have power? They say, yeah, we have power. We have limited power, but Allah had unlimited power. But lam yalid wa lam yulad means that no one has any power. Allah never give his power to anyone. He is the only one right now. If I'm actually holding this pen, it's his power holding this pen. It's not my power. With limited power, I do that. I think if we can truly understand the meaning of this, then we can see that Allah alone, with his attribute, is behind everything. So that is, therefore, I think this is very, very, I mean, I know we spend a lot of time on this, but I feel it's really amazing. It's really amazing point, and to understand and internalize it.
Now, when we say Allah, the source of existence of the universe, the one who gave existence, but we cannot imagine within the conditions of this universe. That's why the source of existence of the universe must be the qualities we see manifested in this universe, his manifestations of the qualities, as he willed it to be, everything. Okay, very good ayah, mashallah. Okay, here we are. The question is here, as I received the question from last week, how much reflective the self-contained theory is. We studied last week. If we observe it through the lens of an atheist. First, I said this is a very dense sentence, so let us understand, make it in a simple or easy to understand language. In another way of asking the question is this: to what extent a self-contained theory, Hawking and deriving from or starting from Wittgenstein, this Hawking said the self-contained theory, a theory that explains itself without external, transcendent or supernatural causes. This is self-contained theory. Is to what extent this theory is internally consistent, logically reflective, or capable of explaining reality when viewed from the atheistic materialistic perspective. That's what the meaning of the question. Now I said answers. Atheists try to justify internal consistency of their views by denying human inquiries which ask questions. Otherwise, human inquiry, human capacity denied, because they reduce human beings to a matter, not just a matter. They reduce, they don't deny they don't accept human feelings, human spirit. They all reduce, even human reflection. They are trying intellect, human consciousness, trying to make it a function of matter. My love is the function of my matter. For example, my fear is the function of my matter, produced by my elements of quarks of my cells, something nothing to do with matter at all. Now, we have to understand that they are really using a very tricky language. Atheists try to justify internal consistency theory in their views by denying human inquiries which ask questions. Otherwise, if we ask human questions, atheists will have no answer for them. And it will show that they have no internal consistency. To avoid their inconsistency, they claim that they are scientists. They don't deal with theology by labeling them as mythology. These questions, human questions, takes me to mythology, or this is an illegitimate question because, as I mentioned, who made this door here? I have to go out of the house. The house represents the universe, because something not of the house. They say, don't go to supernatural realm. Now, what does it mean? I think I hurry and go to this picture. Let's understand this picture today. This famous man, philosopher, is a philosopher again, Eddington, died in 1944. It means when materialists started talking about quantum theories, and they are trying to explain the existence within itself, how the things exist by themselves, and avoiding human questions. This Eddington, it's a famous man, but because it is not atheist, blunt atheist, they don't really make it famous. No, not many people talk about Eddington, but they all talk about others, the atheists. Anyway, in The Philosophy of Physical Sciences, wrote in 1939. I think this context is important, 1939. He said, what my net cannot catch isn't fish. This is what he said, Addington said, what is the scientists are doing now to cheat us. What does it mean? Look at the picture carefully. There is something here. The philosopher. Now, the philosopher is speaking here now. Be careful here. And this is the net. Philosopher can answer, for example, for example, how long the door is, how tall the door is. He says, no, I can measure it, and that's a legitimate question. I can answer. So, how many electrons, for example, oxygen have? I can answer. Now, that's a legitimate question, including the Feynman, all these philosophers or the scientists say, okay, ask the question that can be answered within the universe itself. For example, what color is this in your example? This piece of art? Blue. Yeah, that's a legitimate question. Do you understand? But Who made this art? I have to go out. It means it is not within my net. And they say, this is not, in the example, fishery example, this is not fish. No, no, no. Forget about it. Only the things within my net is fish. Do you, do you see the? It's a beautiful description. Epictetus is very famous with the saying. So what is not caught in my net, they deny it. No, no, it's not fish. It is not a question. It is illegitimate. Forget about it. Who made the house? No, don't ask. Who made the universe? How universe came into existence? No, no, you cannot ask. Human questions are totally denied. This picture should be remembered all the time. I will keep referring to this. How the scientists are escaping from human questions.
But
Okay.
let me, Dr. Ali, I think it's really is a funny picture. Let me comment a little bit on that one. It is, uh, in a way, the nets perhaps reflect their own methodology, their own lens, their own perspective. As they study
Excuse
and
me,
gain, yes,
don't say perspective, bigotry,
okay.
brainwashed, bigoted people. They are bigoted people. Really, I'm very
Yeah.
angry with them. I study them a lot. So I get, one day, let me share my feelings. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no,
Now,
no, sorry. Go
I
ahead, please.
said, look, this is a very big, how do you say, word, if you like. I said, one day I was studying one of these atheists' books. I said, oh Allah, Allahumma, oh my Rabb, even if you are going to put me in hell, please don't put it, but even if I will suffer in hell, I thank you very much for creating the hell for these people. I don't mind. They must be punished. Even if I am going to be punished because of my mistakes, I don't mind. But these people must be punished. They deliberately deny the reality. So continue now.
Yeah, I think that remind me. I think Dr. Colin is with us. He's listening. I remember once he asked me. He was translating Nursi's work, Tabiat Saresi, the treatise on nature, into English. And in that treatise, the Nursi, like you, get extremely angry to those so-called genius people making completely nonsense things and imposing on people as if this is reasonable, scientific, logical. And Nursi will say, even if you become, 1,000 times worse than donkey, you will run away from that. Or if you become dumbest of the dumb person, you're not going to accept that. I think they were like a donkey, dog, and dumb person adjective. But Nursi used it in a very angry way. And Dr. Colin, he asked me, he said, Nursi is very harsh towards those guys. If I translate it this way, I'm afraid they're not going to read it. What do you think? Should I smooth it? I don't know. Maybe he can write in the chat what it is. That's what I recall. But now, what I'm thinking now, as I study those as well, I say, perhaps Nursi said very little to those guys. They deserve even much more than that in terms of misguiding humanity and blinding humanity in the name of science, philosophy, and blocking their thinking to actually see the sign of Allah in creation. And I think in this regard that this picture really visualize, yes, good, you have your net, you're catching something, but why you are limiting the entire understanding and reality to your own, in this case, understanding. And you are blocking other people even to look for the source and to understand what is going on. So I think that is very funny in a way, but it's also very ironic the how we are in a way limiting people to really think and ask good question to find answer.
Yes, it is a harsh language. I used also bigoted people. But, if you listen to them, nowadays they speak on the YouTube. They are making lots of programs on YouTube. So if you really listen to them, they say those people believe in mine is just bigoted people, blinded people, uh, irrational people. They use very harsh language for the believers. Retaliation is not always correct, but really, it is stupid to deny human reality. Anyways, let's come back here. Okay, they label it mythology. No, no, illegitimate question. Don't go into supernatural. We are scientists. We don't deal with theology. Theology is nothing but just stories. Now, so mythologies, they label it and use a very authoritative language. Look, it is the reality. I am experiencing it. Anyways, I think it is clear, isn't it? Shall we?
I think so. I think so.
Now, now, of course, what human inquiries are, we know that first of all, human beings ask within the universe first the source of existence of beings and inequalities manifested in them, in the universe. This universe. Look, not only who made the tree or who made me, that's correct. For example, who made the house, that is correct, that's legitimate. But inequality is manifested in the house. No, beauty, wisdom, usefulness, thinking who's going to live in it, what they need. They take human quality, make it beautiful, attractive, practical, thinking who is going to use this house. Accordingly, they plan the house. Accordingly, they made the house. They don't make a door which a human being cannot go through, for example, or not high enough, for example. They bear everything in mind. Qualities are more important than, no, the sentence was wrong. The existence of the qualities manifested in the things existence. How come this measurement exists? How come this moving of the window exists? Somebody thought about it. How come the hinge is perfectly put it here? Now, these are all qualities. We have to ask qualities. As you said today, from the beginning of our discussion today, how come my movements of mechanism of this uh, hand happened by itself, developed by itself, measurement perfect and parallel. You see, parallel? Why has to be parallel? Why has to be symmetric? Perfectly. Look, why? Accidentally. And how my nail is fixed here. Meat and nail. And color of the nail extending is different. Who arranged it? Quality, we should never forget that. Explode, for example, sample explode. All right. Who made that something is a legitimate question, but who is the source of existence of explosion? They say it started expanding. Look, they think that we are stupid. Really? I can cheat these people. They don't understand. They don't have any mind. They think it started expanding. Excuse me, the expansion is a quality. Yeah, my table doesn't expand, but this atom expands. What is energy expands? What is the cause of existence of the quality of extension? What is that? They just hide it, hide it, hide it. It expanded. That's what we see. So let's say that there is a roof on top of the house. How the roof is put like this rather than flat? For example, there are some flats in Saudi Arabia. I think maybe all flat. There it doesn't rain much, so here is not very good idea. So why is it the house is like this, and suddenly at the top roof is like this? Who arranged it? Why this slope? Is it right?
Slope.
Slope. Why is
Yeah.
it? Why is it? Who thought about this quality to be slope? For example, we should never forget asking the uh, qualities of the beings, source of the existence of the qualities of the beings. Now, human beings require meaning and purpose of existence. That's what they are struggling. This thing is the meaningful, but what is the meaning? Where the meaning came, meaningfulness came into existence, they have no clue about it in materialistic view. And purpose, why we exist rather than don't exist. No answer at all. Why there is no answer? Because they are looking for an answer within the universe itself. So, another very important human inquiries, there are many, but human inquiry, contradiction between human feelings, yearning the infinite satisfaction, and what is seen and experienced in this universe. The universe is dependent, it is transient, it is subjective to other things. So matter, energy, electromagnetic field, whatever they call it, they are all subject to an order which is beyond their capacity. There is another agent, they are subjecting them to this order, his will. You have to be like this. Like, very simple example. Look at a brick in the wall. Ask, first question, how brick existed? That is a legitimate question. Two, how this brick happened to be in this position here? How? Who decided that this brick will be here? Does the brick have free will? So are quarks. Does the quark have any will? I will behave in this way or in this way. And nowadays they talk about that they don't have space and time limitations. Great things are happening in their discoveries, but their interpretation. Now, how wonderful! I will say something. Dr. Nezat, but don't blame me using bad word language. How wonderful they find out about how the universe exists, which kind of qualities it has, how stupid their interpretation. Just a contradiction. My God. So, I cannot understand how these people swallow and convince themselves. They are genius people. But when it comes to the source of existence of all these findings, they become, okay, I shouldn't repeat this word, is dumb. I don't understand. Okay, we are time. Conclusion, but it is not the total conclusion. Now, human logic, intellect, human consciousness, and human feelings cannot accept the explanation that the materialists put forward. The universe can be self-contained. It is impossible. This explanation directly contradicts the inquiries of human qualities. That is, I am a human being. I am not a stone. Now, if you like, the time is up. We should stop here. That is why materialists avoid to ask the question, because it doesn't catch their net. Their materialistic view cannot answer. Their net, fishermen, their net cannot catch these fish. It means they cannot answer. They deny. This is not a question. This is not a question. Forget about it. They deny that they are not fish. They are not fish. But in fact, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. But they are fish, bigger than their fish. That I love this picture. We have to refer it all the time. If we understand this, Dr. Nejati, we should never swallow, we will never swallow the scientists' interpretation of their findings. Their findings is wonderful. Their interpretation is just the opposite, trash, garbage. We have to be sure about it and say, Alhamdulillah, ala ni'matil iman. Thank you, God. Alhamdulillah, you gave us this open-mindedness. Assalamu alaikum.
Very, very good. Yeah, thank you very much. I think the key part here is, and again, to summarize the question and the answer, the question was whether those atheist arguments that the universe is self-contained is a legitimate questions that when you look at from atheist perspective. And the answer here, by self-contained, essentially we're saying that don't ever think there is a maker outside the universe. Just things, when you look at an amazing palace that came out of the grain of sand, and you see those grain of sand take different form and become glasses, becomes ceiling, become kitchen, become all this furniture that you like. And not only that, then you see this grain of sand take the form and become food for you, and you go and enjoy in this palace. And you ask the question, how this came into existence, how I found this palace with all this amazing quality, perfectly matching with my desires and my feeling. And they say, never think anything beyond the grain of sand, because the universe can be explained through the grain of sand alone. There is no maker out there. There is no one out there shaping them, arranging them, and giving them new quality and meaningful arrangement. So, and I think that is obviously is complete nonsense, and therefore you had to repeat yourself in a way that's saying it's all this bad word to those individuals. So the point here is that when we look from the Quranic sense, the Quran invite us to reflect on creation, to see the qualities manifested in them, to see the meaning and message reflected through them, and to look at our own faculty, our own mind, our own feeling, and our own experience. And from that say, no, for sure, this can happen by itself, for sure. This is not just the matters and atoms coming, arranging themselves. For sure, there must be an absolute being, given that everything, including me, completely powerless and contingent and rely on this infinite and absolute being. And that, I think, is what the Quran is inviting us to see the Creator as the source of all quality, power, and knowledge everywhere, every moment. Right now, He's painting and creating the whole universe for us. And we're enjoying and we're existing because of Him. Not once upon a time, He created the universe and the system is automatically working, and now we just live in this house and asking who is the maker. No, this house we live in is just being created for us again and again and again. And I think that's our main point next week, inshallah. We were intending to do this week, but we're going to, inshallah, reflect more on this khalaqiyya, in, if we want to recall it, and qayyumiyya, in a way that's continuous, constant creation that connects everything, every moment to him. And that's how we'll define as a qayyumiyya and samadiyya, in a way, when you observe them. Thank you very much. And let's end it with dua, inshallah.
Inshallah. So just reminder, Quranic method is La ilaha illallah. So we should never speak to people. God created the universe. God created me. No, this language is over. Or in this 21st century, you cannot speak like this. What we have to do, I cannot exist by myself. The tree cannot exist by itself. Quarks cannot exist by themselves. Therefore, the creator, my creator, the creator of the quarks, must be an absolutely conscious being who is called God, an absolute God. We should never forget this. Absolute God. And why absolute? You didn't ask me. Why? If I say God is not enough, no. Because absoluteness must be acknowledged, because the universe witnesses that my creator must be an absolutely infinite being. Absolutely infinite being. Cannot be describable within the conditions of the universe. Now, the artist of the picture or drawing cannot be describable within the conditions of the piece of art. For example, can you explain or describe the engineer within the limitations of this computer? Yeah, it is like this key, or it is like the screen, it is like, I don't know, the cable. It is ridiculous. That's why we have to use the word absolute being. In Arabic, mutlaq. خالق مطلق خالق مطلق عليم مطلق رحيم مطلق نعود صمد أحد مطلق صمد مطلق مطلق صمد صمد مطلق. It means absolutely infinite. Vesselamu alaikum ve rahmetullah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim. وآخر دعوانا إن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وإتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم.
Shukran.